It was just another rainy Tuesday morning when Natalie tightened the string of her apron and stepped into the bustle of Eleanor's diner, the small, family-run restaurant that had seen better days. The bell above the door jingled as customers filtered in, their soaked coats dripping puddles onto the linoleum floor. Natalie had worked the breakfast shift for 5 years, juggling 3 jobs to support her little brother, Kyle, after their parents died in a car accident. At 26, she had long since given up on dreams of college, travel, or even sleep. "Table 4 wants extra syrup," shouted Lily from the kitchen. Natalie grabbed the bottle, smiled through her exhaustion, and made her way over to the corner booth, unaware that a man sitting there was about to change her life. He was dressed in a tailored Armani suit, tapping aggressively at his phone screen, clearly annoyed by the clamor around him. His Rolex peeked out from under a crisp cuff, and the scent of expensive cologne hung in the air like arrogance. A silver Mercedes was parked out front in the no-parking zone, untouched by the morning's rain. "Good morning, sir," Natalie greeted with a smile that didn't reach her tired eyes. "Here's your syrup." He didn't look up. "This coffee is cold," he snapped. "Oh. I'm so sorry about that. Let me get you a fresh." "Do you not know how to do your job?" he barked, loud enough that a few patrons turned their heads. "Is it that hard to bring a hot cup of coffee? Are we in the Stone Age?" Natalie froze for a moment. The insult stung, not because it was personal, but because it was so unnecessary. But she'd dealt with worse. Much worse. She took a steadying breath, her fingers clutching the coffee pot a little tighter. "I'll bring you a fresh one right away," she said calmly. But then he added, "Unbelievable. No wonder people like you stay stuck in places like this." And that was too far. She turned slowly. "People like me?" she asked softly, the room quieting a little more. He finally looked up. Their eyes met, his impatient and icy, hers quietly defiant. "Yeah," he said with a smug tilt of his head. "People who serve. People who settle." There it was. The assumption. The dismissal. The belief that her uniform made her smaller. Natalie didn't raise her voice. She didn't cry. She just looked at him and said, "I didn't settle, sir. I chose to serve because life gave me a reason bigger than myself. My little brother is 10. He lost his parents and his sense of safety in one night. He deserves a future. So I work mornings, afternoons, and sometimes nights, not because I'm stuck, but because I'm climbing. Not every ladder looks like a boardroom. And not every battle is fought with money." Silence. A few people murmured, some nodded. One old man clapped once before stopping himself. The suited man stared at her, expressionless for a moment. Until he looked down, ashamed, like someone realizing he'd just stepped on something fragile. Natalie didn't wait for a response. She simply walked back to the kitchen. She figured that was the end of it. Just another rude customer, another heavy day. But it wasn't. That night, after closing, as Natalie was wiping tables, the bell above the door jingled again. She looked up, confused. The same man from earlier stood there, but something had changed. His posture, his expression, both softer. He held something in his hand, a checkbook. "I came to apologize," he began. "I was cruel. And I judged you without knowing anything about you. That's on me." Natalie stayed quiet, arms crossed, skeptical. "My name is Thomas Grayson. You might have heard of me. Grayson Tech, Grayson Motors. I own more than I care to admit. But today, someone reminded me that character isn't measured in net worth. It's measured in grace." Natalie blinked. "I was orphaned, too," he continued. "Foster care. Group homes. I fought tooth and nail to get out. And somewhere along the way, I forgot where I came from. Today, you reminded me. And I don't want to forget again." He held out the check. "I don't expect you to take this, but it's made out for $100,000. Not because you need saving, clearly, you're the strongest person I've met in years, but because your brother deserves that future you're working for. And because it's time someone did something kind, just because." Natalie stared. Her hand trembled as she took the check. I can't." "You already did," Thomas said gently. "You changed me." In the weeks that followed, the story made the rounds. A billionaire humbled by a waitress grace. A diner that suddenly found itself with national attention. Natalie never sought the fame, but people loved her story. Donations poured in. Scholarships were offered. Her brother Kyle got into a top school with full support. And Thomas Grayson? He didn't disappear. He kept showing up. Sometimes with coffee. Sometimes just to talk. And over time, Natalie saw more than a billionaire. She saw a broken boy, now grown, looking for purpose. For redemption. For something real. A year later, Natalie stood in front of a crowd at a community center Thomas helped fund, a center for underprivileged youth and single working parents. She wore jeans and a blazer, no longer in a waitress apron, but still just as humble. "We live in a world where it's easy to judge," she said. "Easy to assume, to look down, to forget. But kindness doesn't cost anything. And sometimes, a simple moment, a reply, a breath of truth, can change everything." Thomas stood in the back, watching with tears in his eyes. Afterward, he approached her. "I still owe you more than I can repay," he said. "You don't owe me anything," Natalie smiled. "You listened. That's all it took." But she was wrong. Because from that moment on, Thomas didn't just change his life, he changed thousands. He launched programs for blue-collar families, gave jobs to veterans, funded schooling for kids with stories like his. And at every speech, every gala, every interview, he told the same story. "A waitress changed my life, because she had the courage to speak, and the heart to forgive." And Natalie? She never stopped working. She just started doing it on a bigger stage. Because she knew that no act of service, no quiet courage, no humble job was ever small, not when it came from love. And somewhere in the corner of the universe, two souls once broken by life found healing, not through wealth or power, but through empathy, grace, and the kind of humanity that money can't buy.